Thanks for the intro. Yeah, I'm Leonie Stebbing, and I've worked at Cornwall Cycle Trust for 2 years now, almost 2 years, this end of this month. Yeah, so I've put together a little presentation for you. I'm just going to share my screen and hopefully have no hiccups. We did test this earlier because technology, believe it or not, I can do social media, but technology in general I'm not great at. Hopefully everyone can see that.
Yeah,
we're
perfect.
working. Brilliant. Okay, so I imagine everybody here uses social media differently, and all different abilities and what have you. So this is what we do at What Will Cycle Trust, and if you have any questions or anything like that, save them for me at the end and I'm happy to answer. If anything doesn't make sense, like, don't worry, like this is just what we do, this is how we do it. So it may not apply to you, you might get some useful takeaways, I hope you do anyway. So firstly, a little bit about our organisation in case you haven't heard of us, but our purpose, this is the organisational purpose, is to make it possible for everyone to walk, wheel and cycle. And this is behind everything that we do at the organisation, at the charity, because it changes everything: our health, our well-being and our world. We're a UK-wide charity making it possible for everyone to walk, wheel and cycle, and we've been around for almost 50 years. So we call it a people-powered movement. Walking, wheeling and cycling might sound like small actions, but they add up to something much, much bigger and ripple out and change everything. So I mentioned before, I'm Leonie Stebbing, and I am social media officer at What Will Cycle Trust for the last couple of years. I sit within the brand and marketing team, the wider brand and marketing team. We're quite a small team, small but mighty. I'm the sole person responsible for our social media. So I oversee our charity social media channels, which at the moment are Instagram and Facebook for our B2C audience. So that's business to customer. So that's your kind of like your Instagram and Facebook, your sort of just general public, audience, I guess. And then we have LinkedIn and Blue Sky. We target for our B2B or business to business organisations and partners, peers, that sort of thing. I work closely with the content marketing officers at What Will Cycle Trust, which also sit within the brand and marketing team. And they are responsible for really taking a deep dive into content, so creating content for our website and what have you, which obviously then gets promoted by me on social media as well. So I turn those pieces of content into social media posts. And we have our wider communications and media team as well, so I'm closely involved with them, similar situation. We have our devolved nations, so Northern Ireland, Wales, or Cymru and Scotland, and they have their own Facebook and Blue Sky accounts for those particular devolved nations, but we work very closely together. So they might share things in Scotland that are more relevant to Scotland, but then it might be a story that would resonate with the rest of the UK, so I might share it. That's because we work closely together, and we sort of I guess tag team a little bit as to what content is happening at the time. And then we all use, or I oversee, LinkedIn, the central channels of LinkedIn and Instagram. So we work together collaboratively to post content on there that might be relevant to whichever devolved nation it is. We've also, I will mention, we've had some big changes recently. So Erin touched on this. We've had a full rebrand and a name change. So we have gone from Sustrans to What Will Cycle Trust. Sustrans stood for sustainable transport. Lots of people didn't know that, but it did, and we've changed to What Will Cycle Trust to try and make it a bit clearer what we do. So what does posting with purpose mean for us? Every post earns its place. This means posts are designed for a specific audience, a strategic goal, a desired outcome. So not just engagement, we want a specific outcome. Social media as part of a wider system. So we're not just a broadcast tool shouting out content. We're part of the brand and marketing team. We have a purpose. We're part of that. That's alongside website content, paid ads, our fundraising team. We work all together. We're just part of that wider system. And the key thing, one of the key things, but a very key thing for us, is accessibility and inclusivity, which are part of our values as an organisation, but they're also baked into our content. So an example of that would be using really sort of images that represent everyone from all walks of background. Also using things like what we call camel case hashtags, so that if an individual is looking at content on social media and they're reading a hashtag, camel case is where the first letter of each word in the hashtag is easily read out by a screen reader. So I can give you more information on that if you need it. There's a wealth of information out there to do with accessibility and social media and online. So as part of a larger organisation, there can be a lot of noise, but limited capacity for content. So as I mentioned, it's just me, I oversee our channels. Sometimes we have to say no to content submissions that people want to, if you want to talk about a particular project, it might not tie in with what we're doing. So if we have a purpose behind what we're doing, then it stops social media becoming reactive, performative, or just habit driven. We need the purpose to then move forward and create the content that's really important to share on our channels. So our strategic lens, and this is where it all starts. So we released our new strategy as part of our rebrand. Our 2026-2030 strategy, and that is what we base everything on. So social media sits very deliberately within our wider brand and marketing strategy as part of that, and our brand and marketing pillars. So these are the really important things that we look at. We need to increase our brand awareness and engagement. We're looking to build a movement. We want people to contribute three things: time, money, or voice. And by voice we mean a positive endorsement of our charity. We want people to be saying really good things about us, and so the content we create is to encourage these three things to happen. And we also need to influence and our B2B income, so our business to business income. So we need to be working with partners and targeting people who might fund specific projects that we can get involved in, things like that. So we need to target those people as well. We need to influence and target those people. Social media supports the top of funnel that you may have heard of in marketing speak. So that means things like awareness, brand awareness, lead and engagement. We are always thinking about onward journeys, and our audience is key. So essentially, without the top of the funnel, you can't move down the funnel and out and get people to give you something or do something for you without having that trust first. And that's where the top of the funnel sits. That's where we are with social media. We're gaining the trust. So we put audience first, and we have channel specific thinking. So we target the right audience, the right channel, and for the right job. I mentioned before our B2C audience channels are Instagram and Facebook. These are spaces where storytelling, emotion, and relatability really matter. And then our B2B audience channels are LinkedIn and Blue Sky. We want to show our expertise, and we want to influence and have peer-to-peer conversations that sit more naturally in those environments. So having clarity over our channels makes everything else easier, because content decisions become strategic rather than reactive. So here's an example of a post that we have up on our Instagram grid at the moment. So this is our B2C storytelling on Instagram, and I think we posted it on Facebook as well. Inspiration with intent. So our aim is for our B2C audience to trust our brand. Trust is the word, and storytelling is key on these particular channels. So for this example, we posted this on Thank You Week, and we used Ben's story. It's a really good example of a human first post. The focus is on a lived experience and reflects our people first values. It highlights the important work our supporters do and the positive impact that supporting us makes to others. And from a strategy point of view, it's building emotional connection and trust, which is vital if we want people to engage with us in the long term. Another example of a storytelling on our B2C channel. Again, this one was on Instagram, but we posted it on Facebook as well. So Sue's story is a good example of an impact-led post. It connects her individual experience to wider change, helping people understand these individual stories are part of something much bigger. Interestingly, neither of these posts has an immediate is asking anything of anybody for an immediate action. So you might have heard the term call to action, or CTA. This is intentional with these posts because they're for their brand awareness, they're for sharing our stories, these people's stories. But we do use call to actions where appropriate, and most of our posts will have a call to action, even if it's just a click this link to move to read more, or you know, what have you. Just we usually do put a call to action in where we can. The purpose here is the belief, familiarity and brand affinity, which we know increases people's likelihood to support us down the line. So it's basically saying, this is Sue's experience, isn't this amazing what can happen? You know, it just shows that she's an individual, she's had a really good experience, tells her story, and it's encouraging people to resonate with that, I guess. And this is a post on our LinkedIn channel that we created recently, and it was for World Public Transport Day. So for our B2B audience, our purpose is to be seen as credible experts in our field and worth engaging with by decision makers, peers and partners. The LinkedIn post is a good example of the different approach. So you can see the difference between this and our B2C posts from before. It's not just about sharing updates or nice stories. It's showing insight in our thinking, and strategically this supports our goals around influence, policy, conversations and commercial opportunities. So yeah, really nice way. You can see in the copy on the right hand side, we talk about our strategy, and I've linked as well. You can't quite see it there, but I've linked to our strategy document for people to read more, you know, and it's an example of what our strategy has laid out, and encouraging people to take a look and see what else we've got planned. Hang on. Technical difficulty. Okay, so we have a post on Blue Sky. So updates and expertise. Blue Sky is a great channel for connecting with industry peers. As this post demonstrates, Bikeability UK, who are industry peer, used our branded campaign resources to support our recent Big Walk and Wheel event, which is fantastic. They didn't have to do that. They did it because they support us and we have a good relationship with them. They've used our content, which we shared as a content pack, or you know, what do you call it, a toolkit when we were promoting the event. And it shows, the fact that they've shared it shows that they appreciate our content and find it clear, credible and genuinely useful, which is exactly what we want from our B2B social content. It really validates content if another organization is saying, look, these people who have nothing to do with us, but you know, we like them a lot, look what they're doing, it's really nice. So this is what posting with purpose looks like for us in these spaces. Ultimately, content that earns trust and invites collaboration. Saying no is also strategic. Decommissioning X. We have had X channels for quite some time, but posting with purpose also means knowing when to stop doing something. We've made the decision to decommission our X channels, as lots of charities and organisations have across the board. For us, this was values-led, evidence-based and driven by declining engagement, safeguarding concerns and the reality that the platform no longer served a strategic purpose for our B2B audiences. Rather than trying to be everywhere, we choose to focus our time and energy where it actually makes an impact. And this is what we did instead. We reinvested that time and effort into growing our LinkedIn and Blue Sky channels with consistent posting, authentic engagement and space to test and learn. It wasn't just about jumping platforms. You know, I left X personally, and that was just about jumping platforms. I was like, I'm not going to be on here anymore. I don't agree with it. But with our organisation, it took a bit more than that. And so it wasn't just about jumping platforms. It was about aligning our channels with our purpose and being confident enough to let things go. Also, of course, always have to measure what matters. And we look at purposeful metrics. Because our content is purposeful, our measurement is too. We look beyond the surface level metrics, so vanity metrics, to things like engagement quality, advocacy actions, onward journeys, and contribution to awareness and propensity to support. So these are really tangible metrics that we're looking at. You know, is our content encouraging people? Is it inspiring people to take those extra steps? And our key question is always, how is social media helping the charity achieve its wider goals? Everything comes back to that. So if I have any suggestions of key takeaways that you might want to consider thinking about moving forward, be ruthless about your purpose. Design content for your outcomes, not obligation. So top tip, start with the end. Think about what you want your audience to do when they see a piece of content, and then create the content to fit that end goal. So you're working backwards. Almost get your call to action and then work backwards from there. And then ultimately, creativity works best when guided by strategy, and it makes your life a whole lot easier as well if you've got a plan. So there we go. I will stop sharing my screen.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Leonie. That was really, really useful, really interesting just to see how, you know, storytelling and strategy really matters and how, yeah, really interesting. Thank you so much. So yeah, remember to jot down your questions, everyone. But if I could hand over to Betsy, that would be fabulous.
Okay, my internet did drop off during that, so I'm really hoping that doesn't happen again. Right, let me share my screen. I'm kind of the same. I'm good at social media, but this kind of stuff. No, that's not right, is it? Sorry.
Don't worry.
My computer's been very slow. Okay. Can everyone see that? My presentation?
It's just loading up. Yep.
Sorry, it's been very slow. Okay. Oh, okay. Cool. Can everyone see that? It says posting with purpose.
Yep.
Okay, brilliant.
Looks good.
Okay, cool. Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you for having me back. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the social media and content officer at the Devon and Cornwall Rail Partnership. And it's our job to promote the branch lines across Devon and Cornwall. So even though today I'll be mainly talking about our work and our audience, the same ideas can apply to whatever your own goals are too. So For us, the aim is to encourage more leisure journeys by train across our patch and ultimately get more bums on seats. But your focus might be something completely different. Maybe you're promoting accessibility or encouraging first-time rail travel or trying to engage a particular community. The important thing is thinking about your purpose first. And today I'm going to talk about posting with purpose and how to create simple, effective content that actually encourages people to take action. So in this session, I'm going to be focusing in on Instagram, but the same overall principle applies to other social media channels too, even if the nuts and bolts might be slightly different. So as I've said, our aim is to get people on the branch lines. From there, we think about why people might travel, whether that's walks, food spots, beaches, or scenic journeys. And then the next step becomes, how do we show these ideas online in a way that make people actually want to go out and do them in a clear and informative way? Now, we haven't always had this clarity. For example, here is one of our very first posts from our Facebook page back in 2014. So it's a perfectly nice photo. The caption says, "Lovely sunny day on the beach at Loo," but there's no real direction behind it. And it doesn't really tell people anything or guide them towards an action or encourage them to do something next. And as a result, it got 1 like and not much else. So how do we avoid that? Well, before I post anything, I ask myself 3 really simple questions. What do I want people to think? What do I want people to feel? And most importantly, what do I want people to do? Because once you know the action you want someone to take, it becomes much easier to shape your content around that goal. So, for example, if we want to encourage people in Plymouth to visit Cowstock, one of the easiest ways to do that is to guide people through the experience. And one of the ways we often do this is with something called a carousel post. So that sounds fancy, but really it means a collection of photos for people to swipe through on Instagram. And this works really well because instead of just showing people one image, you can actually walk through the day trip. So you can show the train journey. So this reads, one of the UK's most scenic train journeys passing over the Cowstock Viaduct. The views from your train window. Things to do there. So this reads, art lover, there are hidden gems to explore. Places to eat. So in Cowstock, they have the Tamar Inn, the Boot Inn, Leash Cafe, and Valenti's Ice Cream. Walks to try, as well as places to visit. So instead of simply telling people somewhere is worth visiting, you're helping them picture themselves actually doing it. And hopefully by the end of swiping through all of that information, they feel inspired to give it a go themselves. So instead of thinking about social media as simply posting a photo, think of your content of more like a mini journey, like you're guiding someone through the idea. And the good news is there's a really easy way to put these kinds of posts together. I use Canva, which is a website and an app that makes it really simple to create graphics like carousel posts. And to get started, you just need to open up Canva and hit Create Design. And then you can select the type of content you want to make. So for our example, we're creating an Instagram post, and Canva will automatically create a blank design in the correct size for you. From there, you can upload all your own photos and simply drag and drop them into the design. Then you can add text, move things around, and customize how everything looks. And it's worth having a little play around with the toolbox at the top right-hand side as well, as that's where you can change things like fonts, colors, text, and sizes. And then to turn it into a carousel post, so adding more than one image, you just press Add Page at the bottom and repeat this process with other images. So you can see from the bottom here, I've created 8 slides in total. And there's no hard and fast rule with how many slides you should include. I tend to just try and keep things fairly short while still including all the key information. And then once you're happy with everything, just press share in the top right-hand corner and download your designs. So let's have a look what one actually, let me pause that. Okay, yeah, so let's have a look what one looks like. Oh, start it. So spring day out idea from Plymouth. Catch the Tamar Valley Line train and swap city views for the Cornish countryside in 30 minutes. Hop off at Cowstock Station and set off on a pretty 1.2-mile riverside and woodland walk. The walk is steep in parts to reach Coat Hill National Trust. Right now, their gardens have come alive with daffodils. Spend the afternoon exploring, then head back to the village to catch the train home. Who would you do this day out with? So that's it. Hopefully now you can see that you can take a few images and turn them into something really informative and inspiring. Pause that. So we found these types of posts work really well for us. And although today I've mainly focused on Instagram, I thought I'd finish by showing a recent post that did really well for us on TikTok. Because really it's the exact same principle, simple text over images guiding someone through an idea. And once you create the graphics in Canva, you can easily reuse them across different platforms too. So we got really lucky with this one and it went a bit viral, and it's worth saying that not every post will blow up like this one, but it reached almost 180,000 people. It got over 10,000 likes and was saved by more than 6,000 people. And ultimately, that's exactly what we want. Not just someone quickly scrolling past, but people tagging friends, saving ideas for later, and genuinely feeling inspired enough to consider the journey themselves. So let's watch this one. So it's a underrated day trip idea from Exeter. Starting at Exeter St. David's, hop on the Tarka line and hop off at Eggersford Station. Head over to the Tarka Line Bistro, tucked away next to platform 2. It's the perfect pit stop for great food and drink with lots of outdoor seating. Next door, you'll find the Station Yard Farm Shop, full of great produce and even refill stations. Then it's time to head out on a scenic woodland walk. It's a relaxing 2.5-mile stroll. And check out the very first tree the Forestry Commission planted over a century ago. Then loop back to the station to catch the train home. Save this idea for later. Yeah, so I thought I'd finish by showing some of the lovely comments that came from that post, as I think they speak for themselves in terms of hitting our goal. And hopefully it also shows that social media content doesn't have to be overly complicated to work well. Often simple ideas presented clearly can be the most effective. So yes, thank you again for having me, and that's it. So
Thank you so much. That was
okay.
brilliant, Betsy. Thank you. That's really useful. That's great to see the breakdown of just how simple it can be, like you say. And I love that idea of content as a journey. I think that's fab.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And then finally, Helen, if you're ready to present.
Mic on. Share screen. Has everyone got that then?
Perfect.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I'm Helen Wright. I'm one half of the Community Rail Officer post for the High Peak and Hope Valley Community Rail Partnership. And that covers part of the Peak District, and all of our 3 lines run from Manchester, one of which is the Hope Valley line that goes from Manchester through the Hope Valley to Sheffield, running right through the heart of the national park. And one of our objectives was to try and encourage people to take the train into the national park rather than drive, because there's a real problem with lots of people driving into places like Edale and clogging up the roads because there's not enough places to park. So part of our objective on a general day-to-day basis is to encourage bums on seats, but encourage people to leave the car at home. So one of the ways of doing that was to create this trail project, which was thought up by one of our Station Friends volunteers, to create a walking route which stops at every station along the way, all the way from Sheffield to Manchester Piccadilly. And it uses footpaths and trails very little walking on roads, and it is possible to walk all the way and use the stations to get there and back at each end of your walk. So that's the sort of mission for the Steel Cotton Rail Trail. And you can see we started with a really clear brand and visual identity, which includes the steel in the form of cutlery from Sheffield and the cotton from Manchester in the form of a cotton reel and needle. And the shape in the middle is a millstone or grindstone, which represents the symbol of the Peak District National Park. So those three things combine the cities and the national park in the middle. The Steel Cotton Rail Trail was a name that was thought up by one of our volunteers. We had an open call for suggestions. So having got the brand and the visual identity, we then did the trail, walked it and waymarked it with similarly branded waymarkers. And over 2 years, we developed the project and started posting on social media about it as we began to get sections properly established, so that we had something to write about. We had something definite that people could go and try out as we were building the trail. So we launched, after a couple of years of working on this, we set a launch date for September last year, 2025. But during last year, leading up to that, obviously we were working on still developing the trail. So what we did was we posted, as you can see on the post that I've included there in July, we kept posting about sections as we were completing them, or posting photos and videos of us putting waymarkers up so that we could build up the interest and excitement, explaining what we were doing and what was coming up soon and what to look out for. And we put the booklets onto our website with a link there, you can see, so that people could, even before we'd launched and before we'd completed it all, we put what we had completed up so it was available for people to go and try out. And we were accepting feedback from people as well. So that was really helpful. So we've put there videos. We use videos on Instagram and TikTok, as well as photos on Instagram, photos on Facebook, and also some written content to explain a bit about it on a blog on our website. I have to say all of this was done by Vicky Frost, who was working for us then as our marketing and communications coordinator. So this is all, I've stolen all of this from her. I didn't do any of it, but she's not working with us now. And Gemma, who's on this webinar today, Gemma only started in April, so it was a bit of a tall order to expect her to present on this. So yeah, so I'll carry on. Next slide, where am I going? There we are. So I'm going to attempt, so this is an example of one of the little videos that Vicky had put up as we were doing the, as we were producing the trail. Let's hope it works. I'll stop that now. How do I get on to?
Do you want me to give it a go, Helen?
I need to go back to where I was, don't I?
Okay.
Oh, here we are. There we are. Thank you. Oh, battery's running low. Okay. So you could see that we did various things to sort of build interest We were also working with some volunteers as we were developing the trail, so that everything that we'd done, our waymarking, route descriptions and maps that we produced the book for, we got people to go out and test them and feedback on how that was going. So again, posting on social media, and that was more to just build awareness, raise awareness, and also with all of these different groups, they've all got their own followers, so they were able to share. So this is one of the groups from Silkstone who came out and helped us. And as we were getting feedback from other groups doing the walk, you know, that had been downloading from our website and posting on their social media, they were tagging us in, or they were emailing us. And so we were getting feedback and sharing, and they were sending us photos and giving us permission to share them as well. So that was something else that we did. And then our more focused outreach. Sorry, my dog. Sorry about the noise in the background. My dog's just come back from his walk, and he's very excited. This is going really well. So more focused outreach. Vicky then looked at followers and looked at potential groups to follow who might be interested in walking, might be interested in train travel, might be interested in the Peak District, various kind of, there are loads and loads and loads of groups and bloggers and people who are posting about walking in the Peak District or getting out into the Peak District. So she looked for kind of those sorts of groups that might be interested. And we also had partners and landowners that we were working with, such as the National Trust, who were really heavily involved as we were developing the trail. And they decided to set up a whole programme of guided walks with their volunteers that followed the route. So they ran those as public events, which enabled us again to pick up on their social media and involve them in what we were doing. And that enabled our content to get out to lots of National Trust supporters, of which there are many, many, many. So that was helpful. So yeah, that was a really positive way of building relationships with like-minded individuals or groups, if you know what I mean. And then that enabled us to develop collaborations. So the Wandering Wildflower blog was a really, really positive relationship that Vicky built up. And Jo from that blog site, she actually walked the whole route and posted blogs about each section with photos and collaborated with us. And she also mapped it as a GPX file, which we were struggling to do because we have county council laptops and there's certain programming we can't use on our council owned laptops. So she did that for us. So that was really helpful. And just by hooking up with these other people who've got, like influencers really, who've got their own following and who were really keen to try out the trail, it enabled us to really get the message out there about what we were doing. And that helped build the interest as we were leading up to the launch. And then when we had our launch, we'd invited not just the volunteers who'd been involved and our partners and stakeholders, but we also invited some of those social media collaborators that Vicky had been working with, so that they could actually be there on the launch date and be posting about it or be walking out on one of the sections on the launch day and add to the content that was going out at the time. Yeah, we had our launch at Sheffield Station and plenty of people came along. It was lovely. We invited a Sheffield Socialist choir. Again, more people involved and more people talking about it and sharing about what they've been doing. So that was really helpful. You can see there's a post there from Visit New Mills, and they were really excited about it. The Peak District National Park picked up on it and also posted. So all of these social media platforms, they all have quite a large following themselves. The results of all of this work that Vicky put in are that we've had, because everything is directed to the website in order to download the booklets. So we've had over 57,000 views on that particular web page since October, which we think is excellent. Obviously, there was a spike in the views at the end of September, beginning of October, but we've also got picked up by papers as well. So the Derbyshire Times, for example, has shared it on their Facebook page, and then we were really thrilled when we saw that the Guardian had picked up on it as well, and one of the journalists from the Guardian actually walked a section and wrote an article about that, and that in itself led to 4,000 click-throughs from that to our website. So we were able to see in analytics where that had come from, and there were over 4,000 had come from the Guardian. So that was great. And here's just a few. In doing this presentation, I just got onto Facebook and I just searched Steel Cotton Rail Trail and found just loads and loads of posts from individuals and groups who are walking the trail and posting about it on their own social media. We don't catch all of it, but when you just put Steel Cotton Rail Trail into the search bar on Facebook, there are just this. I mean, this is just a tiny amount of them, but some people are doing it as groups for charity walks, and they're doing all sorts of different sections, and it's just great. It's just great to see. It's kind of taken on its own momentum now. So just in summary, what we did was we created the content first as we were developing the trail, and sort of started warming people up to what was coming. We responded to people who had walked it or contacted us or tagged us, so that we were keeping conversations going. We did lots of linking people in, linking groups in. We looked for people who we thought might be interested and tried to build relationships with them and collaborations. We selected a few of those to sort of deepen that relationship and connection, and invited them to launch. And that really since then, it's just kind of continued, and we continue to respond to feedback and respond to posts that we see where people have been out on the trail and sort of tagged us in. So just to keep it moving. So that's it, I think. Is that my last one? Yes, it is.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Helen. That's brilliant. That's really useful to see how social media is with you at every stage of the initiatives and projects that a CRP is delivering. You know, it's not just about showcasing a finished, polished product. It's the development, the community engagement, and the collaborations afterwards. Thank you so much, all of our speakers. Thank you, Leonie, Betsy, and Helen. That was brilliant. As I said in the chat, we will share the clips again